On October 27, 2024, in Xuan Phuong Ward, Nam Tu Liam District, Hanoi City, a small funeral was held at a 3-story house in Lane 78. The victim was Win Quoc Dung, 38 years old, an electrical technician who died suddenly at his home after a day of continuous complaints of stomach pain and fatigue. Unable to eat or drink anything. The time of discovery was around 10 a.m. The person who called to inform the head of the residential group was the victim's wife, Latifah Van, 34 years old. She said briefly, "My husband passed away. Please come and help me with the paperwork." No emergency request. No police call. No request to take him to the hospital. The victim's body was kept at home, washed, and quickly embalmed. The death certificate was established by the ward health station based on the wife's testimony of digestive poisoning. No time to intervene. No doctor to examine him directly. No medical records. And the family refused a forensic examination. The records were completed within 3 hours. The ceremony was held on the same day. No funeral table was set up outside the door. Some relatives from the maternal side were present but not many from the paternal side. There was no one except the victim's mother, Mrs. Wintinu, 72 years old, sitting in a wheelchair in the corner of the house without saying a word. According to neighbors, the burial ceremony took place quickly until the afternoon of the same day when the body was taken to be buried at Van Dien Cemetery. The strangest thing was the speed of everything. From death to burial. Less than 24 hours. A 38-year-old man with no underlying medical conditions. No accident. No signs of emergency. Everything happened so quickly that it was chilling. Neighbors said Mr. Dung is a gentle person who goes to work in the morning, comes home for dinner in the evening, and sometimes goes on night duty. The couple lives a normal life and rarely argues. But recently he has become much thinner. Some people even said that 2 weeks ago they saw him leaning against the wall at night, holding his stomach and his face pale. When asked, he said he must have eaten something. After the burial, the house returned to normal. No one wore a mourning scarf for more than 2 days. There was no large altar. Life seemed to be back on track. 3 days after the funeral, Ms. Wintinu, the victim's biological mother, came to the Xuan Phuong Ward police station alone. She used a cane and did not bring any documents. She only said one sentence, "I want to dig up my son's grave. I suspect he did not die of illness." The officer on duty recorded the incident and transferred the file to the Nam Tu Liam District Police. The file was initially marked as a civil request with insufficient grounds for prosecution. However, it was Ms. Nu's determined attitude and each statement that made an investigator decide to reopen the file to check that Ms. Nu was not the mentally disturbed person she used to be. Retired education archivist in 2018. Clear and coherent. Good memory, she said. I sat down to eat with him in the last 30 days of his life. I saw that every time he finished eating, he was tired. Every time he was tired, he held his stomach. Every time I asked my daughter-in-law, She said he must have had indigestion. She added, "He ate on his own plate. Not like mine. His food was served separately. I never ate the same dish with him. In the last month, I had diabetes, so I had to eat porridge. My younger brother KY ate separately. Now he sits alone to eat." This detail was recorded in a special record. Ms. Nu wrote a handwritten commitment to voluntarily agree to exhume the grave and bear all costs if the examination results did not detect any abnormalities. This is a rare action, especially in a case of death without criminal signs. On December 12, the police agency asked the District People's Procuracy for approval under Article 94 of the Criminal Procedure Code to conduct an autopsy in cases where there was a basis for doubt about the cause of death. On December 17, 2024 at 7:30 a.m., Win Kwok Dung's grave was opened under the witness of the forensic police representing the Procuracy and the Guardian, without the presence of the victim's wife or younger brother. The body was intact because it was sealed and buried in good preservation conditions. The forensics of the Hanoi Forensic Center conducted an on-site autopsy. The internal organs were taken and brought to the specialized laboratory for 5 days to get official results during that time. The investigator interviewed a neighbor who lived next to the victim's house and said that Mr. Dung often complained of being tired but had never been to the hospital. When he died, no one called for a car. Only Ms. Van ran out to report the death and then closed the door on December 23, 2024. The forensic examination room of the Hanoi Forensic Center. A sample of liver tissue, kidney tissue and gastric fluid was transferred in a specialized cold bag along with the exhumation records of Win Kwok Dung's body. The forensic team received an urgent order to verify whether the cause of death was related to chemical poisoning or not. The head of the forensic department, Dr. Win Hoa, directly directed the testing of the examination process, going through 3 steps. The first was screening for inorganic toxins. The second was testing for organic toxins. Third, the analysis of long-term residual heavy metal trace within the first 24 hours. The first screening results have completely eliminated the possibility of poisoning from spoiled food, bacteria causing acute diarrhea or natural toxins. No trace of bacteria was found. This is an important step to determine that the death was not due to common digestive poisoning. The second step is to analyze the phosphyl group. By December 25, the official identification results were included in the minutes. Finding residual phosphate in the liver and gastric juice at concentrations that do not cause immediate death, but are sufficient to destroy liver cells if continuously accumulated. The phosphine is released when phosphate is present in rat poison. Reacts with the acidic gastric juice in the stomach. This toxic gas destroys internal organs, causing fatigue, loss of appetite, weakness, and then leading to heart failure if enough doses are accumulated. This is completely consistent with the victim's symptoms in the last month. Fatigue, nausea, mild diarrhea, loss of appetite, and finally death at home without convulsions or severe vomiting. The medical examination conclusion clearly stated, death due to cumulative phosphine poisoning does not exclude the possibility that the victim was poisoned for a long time through the digestive tract through food or drinking water. Hanoi police immediately put the case on the special investigation list. On the same day, a secret investigation team was established to monitor the three-story house where the victim died. In particular, it is noted that the wife Latifah Van did not summon immediately and did not reveal the information of the target assessment, which was to monitor the behavior, collect additional indirect evidence, trace the source of the poison, check the purchase history and living habits in the month before December 26, 2024. The special investigation team began to closely follow the house number 34, Lane 78, Chuen Phuong Ward. The target was Latifah Van, the legal wife, the last person living with the victim at the time before her death. Observation in the first 3 days showed that Van lived normally, went to the market on time, mainly bought vegetables, pork, and freshwater fish, and showed no signs of avoidance or fear. Minimal social interaction, no close friends, no guests at home, no strange men coming and going. The investigation team requested an urgent search warrant for the kitchen where the suspected drug mixing location was located on the afternoon of December 29. The warrant was approved at 11 a.m. the next morning. The police raided when Van had just returned from the market. She was completely surprised. The search lasted 1 hour and 13 minutes, in which the criminal technical team seized 18 specimens, 3 unlabeled spice jars, an open bottle of saline solution, a set of personal cooking utensils, a separate set of chopsticks wrapped in a plastic bag in a cupboard drawer. The investigation team leader discovered a small plastic bag hidden behind a box of seasoning powder. Inside was a package of grey powdered rat poison. This product is on the list of restricted sales in Hanoi from 2022. The main ingredient is zinc phosphyl, the exact type of substance that caused death, and was found in the victim's internal organs. The victim was still asked to explain. I bought it from Ms. Kai to prevent rats from destroying the warehouse behind the house. However, the warehouse showed no signs of the bait being released. No old packaging. No color of dead rats. No characteristic smell. Another important detail in Van's personal cooking set. The set used specifically for cooking at noon. The inside of the pot lid had a layer of white residue clumping into streaks. Preliminary on-site examination determined that this was a streak of phosphate crystallization that had not completely decomposed. The entire sealed sample was temporarily detained. During the interrogation, she affirmed that I did not kill anyone. I only took care of him until he could not bear it anymore. When the investigator asked why she cooked separately and why only Dung ate that tray, Van remained silent for 15 seconds. Then she changed the subject and asked back, "If I killed him, why did I let him die in my house?" On December 30, 2024, Latifah Van was taken to the Nam Tu Liam District Police Headquarters for temporary detention to serve the investigation. The investigator asked the first question. Do you know why we invited you here? Van answered briefly. Because my husband died and you don't believe that he died normally. The interrogation lasted 3 hours. Van's entire initial testimony revolved around 3 arguments. First, her husband often had stomach aches, was picky, and had a long-lasting fatigue. Second, she cooked separately because her mother-in-law was on a diet and her husband was uncomfortable. Third, rat poison was for prevention. She had never used it. When the investigator presented the report of the phosphine poison in the food, in the gastric juice in the victim's internal organs, Van only said, "I don't know what that substance is. I don't study chemistry." When the investigation team presented the camera image of her buying a package of rat poison at a pesticide store on November 18, Van admitted that it was her, but said, "I bought it because I saw a lot of rats in the house. I don't know who put it in the food." When asked about the chemical residue in the separate pot of soup, Van remained silent for more than 4 minutes. Did not deny or explain. Just looked straight at the table. The investigator noted that she was not panicked, not defensive, but uncooperative. The investigation team changed tactics to ask about her emotions. Asked if her husband died. Did she feel pain? Van answered that death is the end. Crying or not will not change anything. The investigator continued to ask, "What did you think when you heard that they were going to exhume the grave?" Van replied, "I thought they wouldn't find anything because I didn't do it." The investigation team confirmed that she did not show any anxiety during the exhumation process, did not make any phone calls, did not withdraw money, did not make any unusual contact, and lived as usual. On January 23, 2025, after 5 days of detention and continuous interrogation, Lateef Van still completely denied the act of poisoning and did not admit guilt. The investigation team switched to a reverse investigation to trace the motive for the murder, if any, starting with the victim himself. Win Kwok Dung, 38 years old, an electrical engineer at a private mechanical company in Gia Lam. The investigation team verified that there was no debt, no credit loans, no simple social relationship lawsuits, no outstanding conflicts at the company, no threats, clean financial records, no strange numbers saved on the phone. No dating apps installed. The couple lived in a 3-story house. The property left by the parents was in the joint names of both husband and wife. Dung's phone before his death only saved a few work schedules, family messages, business friends. Colleagues confirmed that Dung went to work on time, came home on time, did not drink, did not gamble, did not have any girlfriends. The investigation team checked the bank account in the last 6 months of 2024. Dung regularly sent money to his mother, an average of $3 million per month. Did not make unusual transfers to anyone else. There were no signs of being forced to transfer money or being scammed. Did not use an e-wallet. Only used to pay for gas, electricity and water bills. As for Lateef Van, she had no criminal record. Did not violate the law. Did not have debt. debts. Did not borrow money. She quit her job in May to take care of her sick husband according to her statement. However, the investigation team discovered that since September, she had 3 payments placed into a sub-account totaling more than 12 million for unknown purposes. This account was under the name of a man named Win Kwok Ky, who had the same name as her husband's younger brother who was living in the same house. When asked about these transfers, Van replied that it was money, and that she asked her husband's younger brother to go shopping for her and send it over for convenience. The investigation team turned to Win Kwok Ky, but up to this point there was no evidence of a crime. The neighbor said Ky was a gentle and quiet person who went home to the 3rd floor and did not communicate much. On January 12, 2025, after determining unusual financial transactions between Lateefan Van and Win Kwok Ky, her husband's younger brother, the investigation team requested a warrant to inspect the entire 3rd floor of the 3-story house in Shuen Phuong Ward where Ky was living because after Win Kwok Dung passed away, Ky did not move out and still lived with his sister-in-law and mother. However, the neighbor confirmed that at night, Ky did not sleep in the 3rd floor room like before but often went down to the 2nd floor, while Van, after the monks, moved from the 1st floor to permanently live on the 3rd floor. At noon on February 22, the investigation team conducted an inspection of the 3rd floor of the room that was once locked. The key was hanging on a hook. No one had used it for nearly a month. When the door was opened, a damp smell rose up. A layer of dust covered the desk. The hard drive of the personal computer was removed. The wardrobe was empty. There was no bed, no blanket or pillow. Only a thin mat rolled up neatly in the corner of the wall. The old criminal technical team checked the floor surface at the corner of the wall next to the window. There was a strange circular dent the size of a lamp base. The table in that area was completely empty, but the tiled surface underneath showed signs of frequent rubbing, indicating that furniture had been placed there and had been moved recently. In the drawer of the study desk, the working group found 2 notable objects: a photo torn in half and an intact, unused condom. The photo was reassembled with the content: a woman suspected to be Lateefan Van sitting next to a man with short hair, side view, in an intimate pose. The image was taken in a coffee shop. The yellow light leaned against the green trees behind. The reconnaissance team located the shop within a 2-kilometer radius of the coffee shop owner's house and confirmed that this woman was indeed the one who often went with her husband's younger brother. She didn't talk much at night, but unlike her sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they sat close together and looked at each other. Once, I saw them holding hands. At the same time, another witness, Dung's close friend, sent the investigation team an old text message in which Dung once said, "I suspect there is something between him and KY, but I have no evidence. I just find it strange that he doesn't care about me anymore." The investigation team went back to the Wi-Fi access history in KY's home computer. They accessed many news sites about the relationship between sister-in-law and brother-in-law. Some queries were deleted but were restored with a notable phrase: Is living with a sister-in-law considered incest? On March 18, 2025, the investigation team officially summoned Win Kwok Ky, the biological brother of the victim Win Kwok Dung, to clarify the relationship with Lateefan Van. In interrogation room number 3, KY appeared confused, different from Van, who was cold and well-controlled. KY kept looking down, swallowing his saliva, his hands shaking. After 20 minutes of interrogation, the investigator showed the photo that had been edited and extracted from the room on the 3rd floor. KY immediately lost his composure and did not answer immediately. When asked a second time, KY spoke slowly and in a low voice. That photo was taken for real. I'm sorry. My sister-in-law and I had an affair, but we didn't kill Dung. The transcript of the testimony lasted more than an hour. KY admitted that the relationship with her sister-in-law started around April 2024. Initially just talking and then crossing the line. The incident happened when Dung was on night duty. KY admitted, at first I felt it was wrong, but gradually I couldn't stop. She said Dung didn't care anymore. Each person lived in their own world. When asked if she discussed killing the victim, KY affirmed, absolutely not. I have never known what she did. The investigation team continued to present evidence of money transfers from Van's account to KY's account during the last 2 months, totaling more than 12 million VND. KY said, that was the money she actively transferred, saying it was to help me rebuild my life in the future. The investigator asked, what did she say her life would be like in the future? KY was silent. Then after nearly a minute, KY replied, she said, if one day if Dung is no longer here, will you dare to live truthfully? KY continued to state that after the funeral, she moved to sleep on the 3rd floor. She did not dare to stop her. Every night, she came up as if nothing had happened. She knew it was wrong, but she felt like she was stuck in the choice she had made. At the same time, the investigation team checked KY's phone and recovered a deleted message from November 12, 2 weeks before Dung died. It said, he is getting weak. Don't say that. It's the truth. Just keep quiet soon. This news does not directly contain the act of murder but completely matches the medical developments and the results of the subsequent examination. The investigation team concluded that there was not enough evidence to charge the accomplice with murder, but there was enough evidence to convict her of concealing the crime and not reporting relatives. The case officially closed the circle of the only perpetrator, Lateefan Van, who killed her husband by poisoning him through food. The motive for the murder was to live freely with her brother-in-law, a love affair that was both wrong and murderous. But both believed that no one had discovered it. On the morning of May 15, 2025, at the Hanoi People's Court, the first instance trial of the murder case by poisoning, the defendant Lateefan Van was charged with murder of a particularly serious nature under Article 123 of the Penal Code. Win Kwok Ky, the husband's brother, was a related character present as a witness with a tired face. He did not dare to look up, did not dare to look at Van, who was standing. When the court called him to speak, KY only said briefly, I was wrong for not speaking up earlier. But I never knew about the poisoning. The investigation results confirmed that KY did not directly participate in the murder, but had silently agreed to live together after his death, according to Article 389 of the Criminal Code. KY was sentenced to 2 years in prison, prohibited from living with the defendant for the next 5 years. The verdict was announced at 10:19. Lateef Anvan was sentenced to death for the crime of murder due to a perverse motive, premeditated murder, and the act of prolonging a sophisticated scheme that seriously violated family and social ethics. The case ended. The verdict was announced. But the lingering echo was not in the law of a man who died in his own home, beside his wife and his younger brother. No one but them knew he was dying. No one but them cooked, took care of, and cleaned. And no one but them killed him legally and regularly. But there was one person who was not silent. An old mother who only had intuition. Only memories of meals. And it was that suspicion that brought the truth to light. This case not only scared people but also made people angry. Angry because a death happened in the middle of the city, between relatives. But no one discovered it. Angry because there were killers who didn't need violence. Just needed enough time and coldness. Angry because the murdered person still called them family until the last minute. If you are living next to someone whose heart has cooled down, please leave. Don't stay and poison each other with pretense, because not everyone is lucky enough to have a mother who stands up to dig up the truth with her own trembling hands. Love cannot be nurtured by lies. And kindness should not become a place where evil people hide.